First time ko gumamit itong bagong version na ito. Uh, ito na siguro. Kasi ito yung yung work version na upgrade yung Zoom. Medyo mas fancy siya. Alright, let's go.
Technology is your friend. Technology is your
I
friend.
know, I know. All right, everyone, welcome back to our little show, little corner of the world. Joining us from all over the world, I can see. Oh, so medyo perfect yung timing ito kasi yung kaibigan natin from Florida to Los Angeles to Berlin, all of us can join us. So this is a perfect time. And today we have very special guests. As I said, all our guests are special, but this is a person who is an institution in a very important field, especially relevant to our discussion today. So, later on, pag-usapan natin itong 19 points collapse in Sara Duterte's satisfaction rating per SWS. Obviously, I'm sure marami na naman nagagalit sa akin because pinatrending ko yung plans daw to impeach Sara. So, I'm gonna get into a lot of trouble and I'm gonna get my guests also into a lot of trouble. But before that, gusto ko medyo ontological, pedagogical. Let's go back to the art of PR and populism and all of this kasi we live in the age of Trump. We live in the age of populism. Kaya today we're joined by a very good friend of mine. I regret that I didn't have him earlier here, but regular naman siya sa kabilang channel, so I'm sure a lot of you have heard from him. But I want to make sure that people also hear it on our platforms. Ito. We have with us Alan Herman. But Herman is written in German. Alan, bakit German? Is there a
Uh,
German
you know,
connection there?
just like your audience, no? We are global. We are all over the world.
So kung
Kailangan gawing content.
ako para House of Targaryen, ikaw naman
Oo
Herman.
nga, di ba?
Yeah.
Darian, di ba? You gotta add a little class to
Yeah,
it. But
I know my
definitely,
friend.
don't let the foreign sounding name fool you. Just like Prof. Richard, no? Who down to earth guy, di ba? Kung papakinggan mo yung pangalan, Richard Haydarian. Ba, you
Yeah.
gotta get dressed in your top hat and your
I know.
petticoat. But the guy is actually the most down to earth fellow you'll ever meet, no? Kami mga Herman, mga taga Batangas kami. So mga taga Binyan Laguna pala. So we are
Man,
Filipino sa isip,
that's
puso.
it. Baguio boy here, proud Baguio boy here, Ilocano. Hindi lang down to earth, medyo economic din. Just in case. Ano, sabi na baka afam to, magastos to, hindi. Alright, Alan, there's a lot to discuss. Obviously, let's discuss a little bit the Sara Duterte fallout. Obviously, this was expected, perhaps, especially in light of the PR disaster that their team visited upon them amid a bigger disaster, natural disaster the other week. But gusto kong balikan itong mga fundamentals and basics. And as I said, our show is not just an interview. I don't primarily consider myself a journalist, although I do journalism. This is really a conversation between two friends on the art of populism and politics. So, I want to go to this. Since international naman tayong pareho, let's talk about Evita. Evita is an interesting show because if you look at the Evita show, Donald Trump was obsessed with it. Some would say he watched it at least 6 to 7 times on Broadway. Some would say even 10 to 11 times. Margaret Thatcher was also obsessed with it. I'm being obsessed with Evita and Peron because my sense is the Perons and especially Evita, they invented modern populism. And modern populism in a sense that's sa tingin ko very relevant in the Philippines because correct me if I'm wrong, Alan, Imelda Marcos sounds to me like the Evita of Asia, right? This, rags to riches story, and yet very relatable. And what I appreciate about the intervention by the Cambridge political scientist David Ronsiman is that if you look at these people, it is not really art of authenticity because they're not really authentic. A lot of these people are performative, glitzy and glamour and all of that. It's more of the art of connection. So you have this weird situation whereby someone who's living in a gilded mansion is more relatable to folks than those middle class activista or even yung mga talagang mukhang proletariat na activista. And this has always been a mystery to a lot of people in history, in journalism, among others. But you are a PR man, Alan. Tell me, why does the Evita, the Imelda, and nowadays the Trumpian gilded populist brand of politics, why is it so successful from a PR standpoint?
First, let me dovetail your points. Now, that's Santa Evita to you, my friend. She was considered a saint, and in many parts, no, she's considered a saint, an actual living saint. Santa Evita, ang tawag sa kanya. There's in fact very mythical yung nangyari sa corpse niya, di ba? That became a worldwide phenomenon when they took
Yeah.
her corpse and it was missing for decades. But okay, to go into that, why does this Evita populism work? Ano yan eh? Kasi di ba, there are three kinds of candidates and they go through cycles. There is the gut candidate. So who is the gut candidate? When you see the gut candidate, you say, Idol! I
Right.
wanna be like that guy. Nandiyan na si Idol. Star power, pure star
Right.
power. You want to take a selfie with this person. You want to buy this person a beer. This person never needs to pay for a meal in their whole lives. Wherever they go, dinudumog, pinapalakpakan. Yan yung gut candidate. And then there's the heart candidate. Who is the heart candidate? This is relatability play ito.
Right.
Nakikiisa to sa akin. This person went through what I am going through. This person knows my daily struggles. This person looks like me, walks like me,
Right.
talks like
Right.
me.
Right.
If we think of former President Jojo Binay as the perhaps
Interesting.
the very epitome of this heart candidate, no? Even Rodrigo Duterte, PRRD is that, di ba?
And the gut is more like a kind of Obama, charismatic, suave, guapings, matalino type, yeah? I didn't want to
correct.
say
And
Maros because I'll get into trouble. I want to say someone else, but I'll get into trouble. I just said Obama na lang.
okay, Richard, Mar Rojas, do you think Mar Rojas ever went into a mall and people started clapping and people started taking sa? Don't get me wrong, Sec Mar is one of my
Yeah.
dearest and closest friends and one of my idols, if I'm being honest. But seriously, did that guy ever enter a restaurant and did
Does he go
someone
to a mall?
buy him?
Mall is for us. You know what they call them? People. You know, like ordinary
Diba?
people. Yeah.
Nobody clapped, nobody, di ba? It doesn't elicit that eh. So that's the third type of candidate. Si Secmar would be the head candidate. Ang head candidate, yan yung may solution to. May plano. My life will improve because this guy has programs and has a master plan, a roadmap to make my life better. Unfortunately, we are in the era of the gut candidate squarely. Globally, it's a global phenomenon. That's why you have seen the return of populist, very, very fire and brimstone type candidates. Kasi gut candidate ngayon ang usong-uso. We're just leaving the era of the heart candidate. We're entering into that gut candidate and sadly, sa Pilipinas, well, I don't want to say sa Pilipinas because it was a global pandemic, but it was exacerbated by the pandemic. Because what happened during the pandemic, and perhaps this is another discussion we should have on another day, Richard, over meals and drinks, no? But what happened is,
Let's give a teaser. Go ahead. Yeah.
yeah, nagkaroon ng ano eh, medyo nagkaroon ng culture of mendicancy tayo eh. During the pandemic, we were so used to the citizenry got used to AIX, tupad, MAIP, ayuda. So
Right.
it's that. It became you're no longer looking for a leader. I'm looking for somebody to give me sadly the word is dole out. I'm looking
Yeah.
for somebody to give me dole outs. I'm looking for somebody to give me quick gratification. So
But also,
nawala
Alan,
na yung-
also it's the sense of this is apocalypse. Everything is, falling apart. We need a kind of an aggressive, decisive leader to hold it together, right? There's also this sense of panic and apocalypse, right? Which helps
Absolute.
gut like kind of candidates or politicians.
Patron ang hinahanap natin
Yeah,
ngayon,
yeah.
patron. Yung exactly that. The world is collapsing. Follow me. Of course, a lot of our viewers have probably and listeners have watched The Walking Dead, di ba? These are the kinds of guys who will thrive during in apocalyptic situations, di ba? Sina governor, yan, di ba? Yung mga yan who really use their over the top, larger than life personalities to build that kind of almost cult-like following, and you would know what a cult-like following is capable of, Richard, when you earn their ire. Di ba?
Yeah, had that more. But I would say, as someone who comes from Baguio and the loyalist, solid North world, I've known them from the moment of birth. I was almost born in Marcos Highway, hindi pa nakabot sa hospital yata yung mami ko. So don't worry. Like, the solid South was like, I've been there, done that. I know what's going on here, di ba? And now we're, of course, back to square one, essentially, with Marcos Jr. there. So what you're saying here, Alan Herman, the reason I'm telling your name is just because for some of the folks who are still just joining us. Alan, so what you're saying is that structurally, we live in an era that is more favorable. I think fertile soil, no, for the more gut-like, populist, strongman kind of figures. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely. We don't want to learn how to fish. We don't want to be taught how to fish. We want to be given the fish.
Yeah.
Give me the fish, damn it. I don't want somebody, if somebody's preaching inclusive leadership, sustainable growth, let's all band together and hand in hand, side by side, march towards progress, doesn't appeal to our current electorate, unfortunately. It's fix my electricity, give me cheaper goods and services, and give me handouts, sadly.
So I'm gonna approach this like economists, right? Supply side, demand side. Demand side meaning in terms of voters, what they're looking for. Supply side in terms of what populists provide, communication strategy. Let's kind of do both of them. From below, to what degree is the information ecosystem determinative? Kasi if you look at it objectively, Filipinos are wealthier than ever in terms of per capita income. We have the biggest middle class in the entire history of the Philippines. Our middle class is as big as the entire population of Malaysia or Australia. We're no longer a poor country. We're about to be an upper middle income country, and so on and so forth. And yet, when you talk to people all around the world, even in very wealthy countries, right? Everyone feels they're poorer than before. Everyone feels things are falling apart. Everyone thinks there's war around the corner. When it's like, did we just forget World War One, World War Two, Cold War, a lot of horrible things. So I think we also live in an information ecosystem that makes us more paranoid, more aware of crisis. Almost in a panic mode, and I think that's where also conspiracy theory come in, and also this sense of we need someone to hold the line and keep things together, right? I mean, I think the information ecosystem is perhaps also influencing voters' approach.
You nailed it right on the head, no? Because growing up, of course, you're younger than I am, but I'd like to include you as a member of my general generation, di ba? We grew up with how many channels, our media, the media that we consume was so limited. But now, holy cow, you scroll through how many of your social media channels, and
Yeah.
whereas before you'd get maybe 3 to 4 pieces of bad news around the world in a week. Now you're getting about 300 to 400 things to bemoan about and
Every
to
day,
be
yeah.
saddened about and to be worried about a day. So kasama yon, you're absolutely right. It's that overwhelming sense of the Gen Xers can relate. Kasi di ba yung mga Gen X, we grew up under the shadow of the bomb. Anytime the bomb can
Sorry,
fall,
I'm millennial, medyo older millennial, but sige, I can relate.
yeah. Read your and you're a student and a fan of
Yeah.
history. You're a great
Yeah.
consumer of history, Prof. Richard.
Yeah.
So you would know the zeitgeist during Gen X. Ganun eh. So medyo parang nauulit yun.
Yes, and obviously, I think our friends Maria Ressa and others have also very ably emphasized how the algorithm, you have this kind of algorithmic trap, right? When you go down a rabbit hole, kung may tinignan kang crisis, next thing you know, the algorithm on your platform keeps on recommending similar things. So, yun na naging mundo mo, yun na yung mundo mo.
Yeah. On a ridiculous level. Take out your tinfoil hats,
Yeah.
listeners. Let's all wear our tinfoil hats together. But yes, Big Brother is listening.
Yeah.
You click on something, that's it. You will be inundated. There's about 6,000 data points at any given time that can curate your content for you. So, yeah, you do get inundated. There's a confirmation bias. So, if you just happen to be consuming bad news, you will get a steady stream of it for sure.
Now, before we go into how populists also are not invincible, sometimes they could make a mistake, they could come back with permutations, among others. Let's also talk about the fact that the other side of this equation, the anti-populist forces, they're not also too unsuccessful, right? I mean, I can look at Spain, I can look at Brazil, you can look at the US at least in 2020. There are a couple of cases whereby actually the anti-populist forces were able to defeat the populist forces. What do you think helped them? Did they also engage in their own version of populism, but let's say a more progressive version, right? I mean, you also have people like Bernie Sanders, a more progressive version of populism who's not doing too bad. Mélenchon, in the case of France, for instance, right? So, AOC, also, I mean, so it's
Right.
not like it's just like the right wing strongmen, tatay type who are winning. It looks like sometimes the liberals also are doing not too bad, and sometimes the leftist or progressive version of populism. So what are they getting right? How are they adjusting to the moods of the moment?
Well, that's what we call in our discipline the anchor snap. Now, if you think of an anchor and an
Yeah,
elastic band
yeah,
that you're pulling and stretching. So sometimes the populists, the super right wing conservatives, for example, and I'm just using that as an example, they just get stretched out so much that the people yearn, and when you let that go, snap. It goes back to the anchor. So that's what they take advantage of. And it's very interesting to our listeners, I'm sure. They did notice that si Prof. Richard was able to mention so many countries except the Philippines. Now, why doesn't that work in the Philippines? Kasi wala tayong strong party system.
yeah, exactly.
All of the candidates are saying the same thing. Unlike in other countries, countries that you mentioned, people actually vote on issues.
Right.
They're able to polarize people effectively because they're actual issues. Dito sa Pilipinas, wala eh. Generic yung mga sinasabi ng mga kandidato.
The reason I'm saying this, Alan, is because I keep on hearing like, okay, yes, disinformation always is a problem. We are victims of disinformation. I can tell you all about stories of I being victim of disinformation. But the thing is, the reason I'm explaining why in or I mention other countries is because in those countries also you have disinformation. If you look at a lot of proxies for disinformation, it's as bad as in Peru, Brazil, South Africa. I can go India. Oh my goodness. Oh, que
Yeah.
horror. And yet, someone even more conyotic than Mar Rojas or me, like Rahul Gandhi in India.
Is there somebody more conyotic than
More
you?
conyotic. Rahul Gandhi, half Italiano, from the Gandhi family, always, like this pogi guy and Tisoy and all of that. He was. He did so well. He doubled the share of the opposition. This is the Congress Party. Ito yung parang version nilang Liberal Party. Gandhis are obviously parang Aquinos of the Philippines, or rather the other way around. Everyone dismissed this guy. They said this guy has no charisma. He's conyotic. He's a Cambridge guy. Wala siyang touch, common touch. And then he kind of reinvented himself. He wore this Indian stuff. Even his accent. I noticed his accent before was more British, and then suddenly it became more, more folksy. And then pumunta siya sa mga sulok ng India, and nag-listening tour siya. Wow, it worked! And now they're talking about Rahul Gandhi, who's just 53, 54, as potentially the next Prime Minister of India. He's already the leader of the opposition. So you had a guy who was a kind of a head guy, no gut, some would question even his heart. Now suddenly he kind of put everything together. He's suddenly competitive. I'm throwing out this example because, well, as you said, wala tayong masyadong examples here. But maybe we can talk about Vico Soto or even Risa Hontiveros, who to a certain degree are also quite successful heart or head candidates who kind of have this kind of a gutty, folksy appeal to, right? I mean, I'm throwing out these things because I want to show that the world is beyond just saying it's disinformation. While you're correct that structurally populists may have their moment, it is not deterministic.
You know what? And you can see, I'm being fair. Let's be fair. We're actually seeing this phenomenon also in the Philippines on the local level.
Yes,
Hopefully, it will
yeah,
bleed
yeah.
into national. Of course, an example very close to my heart, a little plugging here, of course, is Mayor Joy Belmonte of Quezon City.
Right.
Great example. I mean, she's not exactly somebody you would think is a populist or is an idol or somebody obviously growing up as a Belmonte, a Go Belmonte for that matter, obviously did not grow up through poverty or hardship, can't really relate. She went to very good exclusive schools, and yet look at the momentum she's doing in Quezon City. So on the local level, we're seeing this phenomenon. Why? Because what's happening is slowly people are looking for solutions rather than distractions. In the Philippines, sadly, in the national level, we're still in the distraction stage. For our national candidates, and this is sad, we don't want them to provide solutions. We want them to provide distractions for us. On the local, however, we're seeing a trend. It
Interesting.
started in 2016, wherein local candidates, the electorate are saying, sino ba yung kandidato makakaayos ng poso? Sino ba yung kandidato makakapagsemento ng daan? So hopefully this we'll see it in our lifetime, my friend. You and I You and I can
Yeah,
cross our
it's
fingers.
happening, right? Whether it's Iloilo, it's Baguio, of course, our good friend Mayor Magalong, among others. I mean, they're all making waves, right? Again, we can have a
Great
long
example.
conversation that Belmonte is not perfect, Magalong is not perfect. Yeah, wow, blah, 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 whatever. But they're doing pretty fine. And Vico
They're doing
Soto
pretty
and
good.
Magalong, all of this kind of mayor for good governance, it's getting traction. It's good news. It's great news. You're right. Kasi sa local level, kung pa-cute ka lang, ang usapan dito, whether may tubig ka or hindi. Alright? I mean, there's no room
Tama.
for mumbo-jumbo. It's really about getting the person right. Otherwise, kawawa kayo for the next 3, 4, 5, 6 years, di ba? So, because of the immediacy of the governance consequences, medyo siguro mas responsable ang tao and they're willing to really, to hedge their bets and not jump onto things. So, what do you think was the mistake of the opposition? Why is the opposition in the Philippines? Okay, I don't want to call it. Why are the liberal anti-populist forces, with the exception of I don't know Risa Hontiveros, we can discuss a little bit later on after Sara. Why have they been so woefully unsuccessful in winning over the voters, or at least making a dent? It's not even close if you look at some of the races.
Okay. The main. I mean,
Again,
there's
from a PR standpoint, I mean,
yeah,
this
yeah,
is not
yeah.
a political
There's
science discussion. Just to be clear with folks, yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, there's a multi-headed hydra we're looking at, but the main, from a PR standpoint, the main fault of the Liberal Party is that instead of the rule in PR, the rule in persuasion, my discipline is do not try to elevate your market to where you are. Go to where they are.
Yeah.
Go to where they
Yeah.
are.
Yeah. Meet them at where
The
they are. Something Hillary said something like that after she lost, right? You have to
meet
meet
them
voters where
where
they
they
are.
are.
Ang ganda nung sinabi ni Hillary. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah.
Meet them where they are. In fact, that was a very fantastic quote from Hillary Clinton. No? And yun ang folly. That was the major flaw of the Liberal Party.
So you cannot say
Number
let me
two,
educate you. And
have you tried that? Have you tried that, Richard? How did that work out for you?
I'm too tired teaching in school, so I don't do that outside.
So yeah, that in fact encapsulated by that one very famous phrase, "Let me educate
In
you."
my city, in Baguio, you know how mayabang we are, taga Baguio? Especially with taga Babacar, Manila, there's no way you can get away with that. Nagwala yung mga kababayan ko eh.
You're gonna get kicked down Cannon Road. Are, di ba? Let me educate you. Ito na yung mga,
It's not gonna
mga itak. Maglalabasan ng itak yan. So that's exactly what
Yeah.
happened. No? And the second folly of the Liberal Party is that they did not stick to what we call hot button gut issues. They did not stick to the hot button issues. What are these? In the Philippines, it can be neatly summed up in the acronym HELPS. Yun lang, HELPS. If you're talking about anything apart from HELPS, people will not listen to you. What is HELPS? H is health, education, livelihood, peace and order, social services. Yun lang. Don't talk about sovereignty. Don't talk about karangalan. Don't talk about honesty in governance. Hindi uso. It was uso before.
During
had its
when
time.
when Pinoy won against Arroyo, yes, it was a
Absolutely.
big issue corruption, but no more now. Yeah.
Wala. Ano na, that's in fact we call that OAP, no, Order of Attribute Preference. This is studied. For guys like me, that's our Bible.
Right.
Order of Attribute Preference, because for us to allow our candidates or our clients to win, we have to know what the guys want. So,
Yeah.
you think of candidates like, again, a dear friend of mine, Senator Lauren, di ba? She found that out real fast when she was talking about the environment. Environment, let's be sustainable. Kalikasan, let's save that. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. That's a
Yeah.
fantastic thing. But it did not resonate with the voters.
Yeah.
She learned her lesson and then she went back to livelihood, medium, small enterprises, etc., women's rights.
You can smuggle your advocacies. I think there's nothing wrong, but you have to have meron kang hook, di ba? Na relatable.
Interesting choice of words.
Yeah.
Very nuanced talaga
Yeah.
si Prof. Richard. Smuggle your message.
Yeah.
That's mine now, brother. I'm using that one now.
Yeah. No, I always believe in smuggling. not
Still
that
not
kind,
now,
but communicative smuggling. Gawain ko na, parang I'll talk this and that, and then I'll put something there Oh wow, that's interesting. So yeah, I mean, that's how you get away with doing good things in a problematic situation. Yeah.
That's actually our definition of public relations in my company. PR
Right.
is getting other people to talk about you. Good PR
Yeah.
is getting people to talk about you in a sneaky way.
Yes.
In a
Yes.
sneaky way.
So
Yeah.
the smuggling is a very magaling na tayo
Uh,
sa smuggling business. Alan, now let's go to the more contemporary issues, and I also want to get your advice. Again, obviously you're still gonna have your business on the side for more specifics, but just the big picture. Una, okay. Whew. Um, so do we have really a showbiz culture? How bad is it? I mean, because the Kaloy thing, I know you discussed already sa kabilang channel with my friend Christian on this, but I really want to get your 2 cents also on this. To what degree should we navigate around this showbiz culture in the Philippines without losing sides of core advocacies or policy-oriented issue? Obviously, I understand you cannot be wonky and all. It's not gonna work in the Philippines. I know it. I work in media and all. I'm a wonk too, so I always realize you have to smuggle things in one way or another. But how?
right.
But what is the showbiz culture and how to navigate around it and probably push the boundaries?
You know what? I'm going to just dovetail back to your original point. Wow, this is the word du jour tonight. Smuggling the message. The siguro the best example I can use is you yourself, no?
Yeah.
So yung mga tagapagkinig mo, makikita nila, uy, sino to? Puging. Uy, kita yung chest hairs, nakabukas ng konti yung butones ng polo, di ba?
This was the Argentina vibes, my friend. Hindi, may na aircon
Oh,
ngayon.
macho, macho. So makikinig sila. And then, that might have been the initial hook. But then listening to you after 10, 15 minutes, they realize, holy cow, this guy's, sorry to use the term, no? This guy's not just a pretty face pala. Mautak pala to. Ang dami ko natututunan dito. So if our showbiz culture should be,
Yeah.
can be pivoted towards
Yeah,
that,
exactly.
wherein you initially capture them through the glitz and the glamour and then put some substance under it. Holy cow, what a wonderful world we will live
Right,
in.
right. So, medyo thirst trap and then something better than thirst trap
Alam mo,
in short.
ang galing mo mag-summarize eh. Diba,
I'm gonna
sinabi
get
ko,
into
pero
trouble, my friend. I think I was supposed to be
nakukuha
a
ko eh.
PR guy. We're gonna be. We have to work more in the future. No, no, no. I always
First
felt.
trap.
Yeah, let's. Yeah,
Perfect, perfect term.
you need. You need thirst trap also in discussions and politics and all. Kami kasi we had to explain on clause international law in I don't know whatever way. So I realized there you should make it sexy, if for the lack of better term.
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
exactly.
Sexified mess.
Yeah, smuggling is part of that. So, let's talk about this. As you said, nevertheless, hindi naman invincible ang mga populists and all of that. And we see this with Sara Duterte. Now, just to be clear, I never underestimated the Dutertes. I think they really touched. They have their hands on the pulse of the Filipino people. There's something about them that really resonates. But nevertheless, especially Sara, I think Sara doesn't have her father's dexterity, wit, yung spontaneity na her father had. And by the way, we saw only the older version of Digong. When I was in Davao, I talked to some good friends who are very critical of Digong, but said, alam mo, gusto ko siya nung bata siya, kahit inis na inis ako sa kanya. Magaling eh. Mautak, ang dami naman. So, I met many people who met him in his earlier years, when he was 40s, 50s, and they were very impressed with this guy. He was a natural politician. I even heard, ang idol niya was Ninoy Aquino, who was
Wow.
this extra. Yeah, look at Ninoy, right? One day he could meet the communist leader, the next day he's talking to the U.S. ambassador. That range, right? Remember Napoleon said
No,
something
they
like
never had any inflections when he talks. My God, can
Abs.
talk about any subject matter under the
Ninoy,
sun.
exactly. So idol niya talaga si Ninoy, interestingly, not si Marcos Senior, no? But Sarah just doesn't have it, I don't know what's going on. So she lacks what her father has in terms of the dexterity and all of that. And let me be absolutely clear, this is not a sexist comment. This has nothing to do with that. We're just talking about her communicative skills among others. But she also keeps on making PR mistakes and all of that. So do you think it's complacency? What's going on? I mean, how do we explain 19 points drop? It's huge. It's huge. Most likely this has something to do with also yung flop niya. This whole, I don't know, was it a Swifty concert? Was it just going out of the country? I mean, like, what was she thinking that she could get out of country and not do rebook and people just be okay with that? I mean, what's going on?
Okay. First to be fair to VP Sara, I mean, if you're comparing any politician in recent memory, probably of all time, to PRRD, you're absolutely right. That will be like singing after Streisand or singing after Sinatra, di ba? Kawawa ka pag ang
Yeah.
basis of comparison mo, ang barometer mo si PRRD. He's a once-in-a-generation politician. Of course, an example very close to my heart and my father's heart is ERAP. We thought that ERAP was
Right.
it. Akala namin si ERAP na yung pinaka-bulletproof, pinaka,
Teflon. Oo.
our Teflon, nothing will stick. Boy, did we never thought we'd see a PRRD, no, Rodrigo Roa
Yeah.
Duterte. Now on to the daughter. Uh, Number one, the transference is well, quantitatively, we attribute about a 9 to 12 point decline when it comes to approval transference automatically because you're not the person. So
Right.
sa anak,
You're just a replication, yeah, at most. Yeah.
you're a replication. So that's inherent, built in yun. Secondly, the problem with, and again, wow, we really have to make these disclaimers. No, I will use your same disclaimer. This is not by any way, shape, or form a commentary on her gender because of her gender. Nothing to do with that.
Absolutely, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, it's just that the father, when he makes his witticisms, when he makes his off-the-cuff remarks, it's charming. It's viewed as charming. Now, when the daughter does it, it's viewed as impertinent. It's viewed as petulant, bratty, even. In
Right.
fact, there's data that will support this. Well, obviously, in my discipline, we have quantitative data that will
Yeah,
show
exactly, yeah.
the in Filipino, the response was parang bata. Parang batang nagmamaktol was the insight. So petulant yung dating.
Interesting. Nagrarant lang siya, parang ganun. Oh.
Parang pikon na bata. Parang
Yeah.
unlike the dad, di ba? Pag may inupakan yung dad, galing. Di ba? Galing talaga ni PRRD, master strategist. Ito, pag yung anak nagrant, ay, parang bata. Bratty. So bratty. She didn't get what she wants and she's bratty. Now, having said that, what is the decline? You also have to attribute that to her alleged, supposed, presumed political opponents who actually found a hot button issue that they latched on and absolutely pressured her into a wall. This is China. Nakahanap sila ng ano di ba?
Wait, but you said don't talk about sovereignty and all of that. So why is this issue resonant?
Kasi nakabit nila sa Pogo, nakabit nila sa
Yun.
nagkaroon, di ba?
Ang tawag ko
Dun-
dyan, nesting. Nesting naman.
Nesting,
Yung
correct.
nesting. See, I mean, I'm a PR man. Like, yeah.
Nakagawa sila ng nest, nilagyan nila ng mga golden eggs, di ba? Sinama nila yung mga Pogo. And again, Vice President Inday, because of her ideology, her whatever, for whatever reason, I can only guess, I can only venture a guess, never definitively said anything. So, naging anti-Pilipinas siya. Naging ganon. And then, of course, inupakan nila siya dun sa confidential fund issue. She was never able to explain. And finally, the biggest reason for the for the drop is whether it's 19 or 17. Some survey firms will say it's 17. Is because she lost her golden goose. The golden goose that laid the golden egg was the DepEd.
Right.
Yun yung channel niya para to
Yun
reach
yung
people.
platform niya. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Platform niya. Dini-platform niya yung sarili niya.
Yeah.
So, it's a perfect storm. A confluence of, it's a cornucopia of events.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it is really, perfect storm talaga sa kanila yan, yeah. Concatenation, to be a little bit academic. No, I mean, the thing is, yung tatay niya kasi, sobrang galing niya in terms of, I mean, I noticed the skill of this guy, like in Malacanang once I saw him, pag bored yung audience, dun siya nagmumura. And ang suspicion namin ni Leloy Claudio, we developed this theory separately was, kinaya niya si General Luna. Na they somehow studied. Kasi kung pinanood mo yung mga mas batang pictures ni Digong from back in the day, nagmumura siya para in Bisaya or other terms. Hindi yung certain mura ni ginamit ni General Luna. So I felt this guy knows when to pause, parang stand-up comedian, when to throw the bomb, and he was already in his advanced age. So I imagine if he were younger, he would be twice more dynamic. So you see, I recognize that talent in him. The other thing also with Digong is he could get away with his China stuff to a certain degree because minumura niya yung US leaders. Oh, macho siya with Putin. Do you know what I'm saying? So it was harder to
Yes.
pin him down as duwag. So, duwag nga, US na nga na pinakamalakas na bansa, minumura lang niya. Trump na nga
The
and
big
Putin.
man.
Exact. You see, look at it, this big man, this big blonde man, Trump, Putin, all of them hugging him, respecting him. So I think he could get away with the China one in a kind of ibabla blah blah na lang niya. No, 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 this is about peace and avoidance of war. Sarah
Remember, yung
doesn't have
basura
that.
natin.
Yeah, exactly. Sarah doesn't have
Ibabalik
that.
ko
She's
sa
just
Canada.
So yun ang napansin ko, wala siyang ganun eh. Wala siyang lusot eh. Wala siyang exit ramp. And Digong had that exit ramp eh. So kaya delikado talaga siya if she were just gonna do her tatay way of not criticizing China. When in fact the situation even got worse, I would say, in recent years in terms of China's harassment. So again, we're just trying to explain to folks why, yes, she's also a Duterte. Yes, she has the solid South base and all of that. But her vulnerability, yung pagka-Teflon niya hindi the same level, 'di ba? I wanted to
Not nearly the same.
I wanted to drop some names of brands. I won't go there, baka mapahamak na naman ako, 'di ba? You never know what you're gonna endorse, no? But kidding aside. Now, what is Sarah getting wrong so far from your understanding? And then, well, let's be fair. What should she work on? Because we want to be fair. We're not here to bash one side and help the other side per se. No, what do you think she should really work on? Kasi medyo
Okay,
delikado na siya ngayon eh, let's be honest. Medyo alanganin siya. Wala na siyang platform. She's positioning as an opposition in very, very difficult condition. Her father is potentially gonna face ICC. I mean, so much is going on.
Okay, my problem now for me, and I'm happy to speak about this. This is something I can talk about as a so-called core competence. The problem kasi with VP Inday right now is she's a tweener. In-betweener siya. 'Di ba? In sports and in ano, you're fallen into that limbo of being a tweener. Are you Cuela? Are you Brusco? Are you
Right.
shoot from the hip like your father? Or are you intellectual? Are you statesman like? If you read her statements, ano siya eh, she's straddling eh.
Yeah,
'Di
yeah, yeah.
ba? She's going to make a commentary about the flood funds. She's going to make a commentary about the declining peace and order. Biglang somewhere in the statement, hihirit ng, our leaders don't need cocaine and champagne.
Yeah. Medyo sabog.
Parang
I mean, medyo sabog. I think you didn't want to say it, but I think the technical term for that is sabog. Like all
sabog,
over the
tweener.
place. She's all over the place. Yeah.
Tweener, stick to one, di ba? Yung tinatawag nating TCA, Total Consistent Alignment. You knew what you were getting with PRRD. You knew whether, I mean, warts and all, it was going to be like your drunk uncle rambling, but he was on brand. The problem with
Right.
VP Inday is she doesn't know. Does she want to be? Does she want to engage in intellectual discourse? Does she want to do it like the style of her father? Tweener eh. Yun yung problema. Sabog.
Ako, Alan, to be fair to Sarah, I think kasang situation is she was also surprised by how quickly she got marginalized under Marcos Jr. Kasi ang understanding ko with the Sarah people is you got 6 years to build your own brand and get out of your father's shadow. So, just chill and all of that. And honestly, I don't think she had the ace team. No offense. Maybe this was a team that was great for her when she was Davao mayor and all of that. But I think they were not really prepared for this. They will be squeezed from all sides, di ba? Yung mga kalaban nila na komunista, yung mga kalaban nila na liberal, but yung mga OG, mga Marcoses are also on the, like, lagot sila ngayon, di ba? So, I mean, there are grammatical errors. I mean, like, and I don't want to be like that. I mean, I'm active on social
Para
media.
nitpick.
I don't want to nitpick, pero parang it's not only sabog, it's like it just doesn't have the quality that you would expect from a national level official. No offense, and I don't mean this in a, I'm from probinsya too, so I'm trying to sound in any way, and I'm not being defensive. I'm just saying, she doesn't seem to have the right team and she's not upgrading her team. I mean, pwede mo na pa, kasi may time pa naman siya eh. Last time I checked, she's still the vice president. If she survives the next year or so, who knows? She's still the front runner for 2020. Baka bumaliktad pa yung inip ng hangin eh. So she still perhaps has some time and she has to make that adjustment, but she's not making it. No? Mukhang stuck siya sa gear 1 lang eh.
Okay, am I coming in?
Yes,
Is my
yes,
audio-
yes. That's the problem
Okay.
when it's conversation. Yeah, please go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. The thing kasi with Uh, let the record show to all our viewers, and the record will show that Alan Herman thought it, Richard Hidarian said it. So I thought it, my friend, but you said it. You
May
said it.
mind blend na nangyari.
You articulated it
Yeah.
perfectly. There are levels to this game. There are levels to this game. You cannot take your, sorry to say, you cannot take your barangay basketball team and have them play in the big leagues. Iba to, my God. Yung confidential funds issue lang, let's examine that. No?
Yeah.
When that was first hatched in Congress, when it was first brought to fore, talk about walking into a trap.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, saan ba nanggaling yung funds? Sa Office of the President. Di ba?
Yeah.
Tinanggap nila yon. So, come on. That was, I mean, I don't want to make commentary, but perhaps a more seasoned team would have recognized that, ma'am, delikado tayo dito.
Yeah.
Huwag natin tatanggapin yan. During the hearings, wow, presidential son himself, Senior Deputy Speaker and Floor Leader Sandro Marcos was the one who said, no more questions about these confidential funds, thus drawing attention. Tapos pinatayan ng mic yung mga yung mga kaliwa, which is never done in Congress, di ba? Pinatayan ng mic. So again, it was a perfect storm. They walked into that trap. And frankly, you're right. I don't think that she's surrounded by that. And no offense, because I
Eh,
know
no
some of
offense.
these...
JC
I
team,
know
I
some
don't
of the
JV
team.
team ba yung tawag dyan? JV team. I won't call barangay. Barangay. JV team ba tawag dyan? Yung medyo bench team. No
Eh,
offense.
side B.
No offense, no offense. I mean, yeah, I mean, again, I'm just trying to understand this from Sarah's perspective. Where I give Sarah credit, no, is how she held it together from January nung minura-mura nung tatay niya si Presidente BBM until nung last month na nag-resign siya. That must have been 6 months of hell. Not to mention that month na pati First Lady lumabas at binanatan siya ng big time, di ba? So, I will give her credit for 6 months. She tried to, play both sides, di ba? Until wala na. Na-realize na boiling frog na lang siya. It's just a matter of time. They get all boiled if she stays, di ba? So, I want to give her credit on that. I think hindi siya nagkalat kasi what was key to me is what will be her response after her father attacked BBM, right? Parang she tried to keep both as like, I respect my family, but I'm also loyal to the cabinet. Something like, she didn't articulate it as well, but I think the sensibility was Seneca. So I want to give credit actually to her team. I think they handled it to the best of, it was the best possible thing they could do. But yun nga, hindi nila na-sustain. And to sustain that and level, kasi ang basa ko dito, she wants to present herself as a victim na biniktima sila. Kasi ito yung rhetoric narrative nila. If you listen to their vloggers and all, if you bother, my goodness. But that's their narrative na silang, wow,
Paborito
sila...
mo. Paborito mo, Richard.
Mukhang mababa na naman itong mga to. Pero you know what I'm saying?
Yan yung mga araw-araw, inahamo ka sa debate.
So ito yung mga kaibigan natin, tulog na ako, huwag na patulan to. So, these are interesting moments we're living. So I just wanted to be fair to Sara. And I think she did pretty decently from January to at least April, May. And then, I think at some point they couldn't really. But I was just shocked on dun sa time ng flooding. Bakit ganon? Sobrang sabla yung response sila. Pwede naman sila mag-rebook lang. They could have come up with a better excuse, di ba? Kaya nga may conspiracy theory na baka dahil sa ISIS, hindi na sila maka-abroad. Ito na yung huling El Bimbo nila sa Germany, di ba? Kasi, you know what I'm saying? I met Chancellor Scholz of Germany earlier this year and he was adamant we have to go with ICC kasi, it's close to his heart. He comes from Hamburg, etc. So, the joke kind of is like, baka naman akala ito na yung huling Europe trip nila if ever. You know what I'm saying? Because it's so unbelievable na hindi nila ma-rebook yan. Kasi the day before, I just arrived from Spain. Already the rain was bad. I was about to fly to Cebu the next day. I did it with 12-hour delay. So I was thinking, di-rebook mo na lang, di ba? You're the vice president, for heaven's sake, di ba? Whew.
Again, no, these are real weird miscalculations, and I'm not even going to go into her rant against the PNP leadership, di ba? Against Chief PNP.
First name basis. Tawagin ka first name basis. Hoy, Alan! Bakit mo tinanggalan niya? Parang, hoy, Alan! Tila ka!
Labo di ba?
Grabe talaga.
Doon talaga, napakamot ako. Parang, who is doing the copy? And it's the tweener thing I don't wanna attribute the word, but God bless you, Vicky Inday. But really, the word is sometimes it's cringy. Now, having said that, I think her heart is in her right place, is in the right place. And let's not forget, lamang pa rin to. Yes, there is a drop, but let's not forget in terms of reasons to believe, she got more votes than PBBM last election. Heck, she was leading the presidential survey all the way until she
Oh
decided to
yeah.
slip
And
down,
I
right?
was there in their meeting de avance. So I went to two meeting de avance on that day. So I'll tell you what, that's how crazy I was. I wore violet. I thought it's in between pink and red, but bash-bash ako sa kabila. I'll tell you what, Alan, nung lumabas si Sara sa stage, yung level ng explosion of enthusiasm was,
Iba.
no offense to my kababayan, to my fellow Ilocano, nowhere close. Sarah was the star of the show. She was the princess of the show. I saw that with my own eyes. Even though this was supposed to be BBM's show, Sarah was the star. So,
Iba.
iba talaga si Sarah. So, I'll never underestimate her. So, I'm just shocked at how, they're shooting themselves in the foot. But never underestimate Sarah, obviously.
Hers to lose eh. Yun ang, the
You're
momentum
right.
is hers to lose eh. She's again eroding and shooting herself in the foot as it were, but I would absolutely support you in that estimation that you should never count the Duterte out,
She's
because
still a
holy
force to
cow.
reckon with, right? And but obviously the Tulfos are doing very well right now. I think they're the biggest winner of Philippine politics, and we've been talking about this for quite some time. In fact, para sa akin belated pa yan eh. Nung sumikat si Digong, sabi ko, wait na, parang may kilala ko mga ganyan style, mga Tulfo, na minus the killing and EJ case and all of that. And Erwin, I've known him for quite some time. Rafi is my colleague in One News, is good friend. So I know these people. Of course, I'm critical of them. I criticize. Yeah, I openly on the record like I'm the Tulfos. But they're juicing it. So Sarah has to be careful. But just one last point before we go to the last part of this. Alan, um, BBM. I'm quite surprised with what's happening with the communications of the BBM camp in a sense that I think they won the elections with poetry. They did it well. I mean, in terms of, all of the. But their prose is not as aggressive and I would have expected to be. Medyo nakukulangan ako, nakakapos ako. Is it because perhaps they thought Paul Soriano would be there in the poll? Like, wala silang, that kind of organizing principle. And BBM is not Duterte. He doesn't do fireside chat. He doesn't do the spontaneous show. Medyo stiff yung communications nila, which is good for foreign policy, statesmanship. Great. I know that for a fact. But for domestics, parang feeling ko hindi pa ganun ka-flexible. Is masyado bang stiff statesman-like? I mean, like, now we're complaining in the other direction. Ang BBM administration. Are you surprised na parang wala silang masyadong bloggers and troll farms online? Parang bugbog sarado si BBM dun sa ibang bloggers, wala masyadong pushback eh.
Okay, first before I comment on that, I will tell you the weirdest story I've ever. Talagang tawa ako ng tawa nung araw na yon. A friend of mine sent me a Viber picture, or through a picture through Viber. Tapos sabi nila, "Oy, si Richard Darian, ano na pala? Inappoint na sa cabinet." Tapos
Oh,
nakabilog,
shoot.
nakabilog yung mukha. Nung tinignan ko yung picture, sabi ko, "Gago, hindi si Darian yan, si Paul Soriano yan." Pinagkamalang ang Paul Soriano.
How did that happen? Wait lang. May bigote naman ako dati ah. Like, well, I'll say it's a compliment to him rather than...
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay, the thing, I think the overriding thing here, as far as I can tell, no, just from plain PR and communications lens, I think they're so conscious of people saying that he's trying to be like his
Dictator.
dad.
Yeah, so he's locked in by that. So the EDSA is locking him in. Tama yung sinabi ng friend ko eh. EDSA is working.
Sasabihin,
Ipit ng konti si
sasabihin ng
Mark.
mga tao, ano to eh, Shopee version to ni FM Senior
Yeah,
eh. Ano to
exactly.
eh, Wish version ni FM
So
Senior.
medyo ganun. Oh,
Yeah, if he
yeah.
tries to be a strong man, if he tries to like have that bluster and fiery, although that last song was pretty good, man. I gotta
Very
tell
good
you.
song. I'm sorry. Thank you for saying that, Alan. It was a very good song. I was just in the airport in
On the show,
Barcelona,
yeah.
flying out. Flawless. I mean, can you imagine Risa Hontiveros standing ovation with the Ferdinand Marcos Jr. there? I'm not trying to, besmirch your question. I'm just saying it's just insane. I saw that dun sa post ni Sherwin, who's a good friend, and Sherwin was like, wait, is that Risa? It was really good speech. Lalo on Pogo, on West Philippine Sea. Wow.
Oh,
Great
start
guys.
pa
Great
lang.
pros. Great pros.
And then, I mean, just the way they set the predicate, he walked out alone. He had no military escort because I'm quietly
Yeah.
confident. We are ruled by civilians, so wala akong military
Right,
beside me.
right.
No handshaking, no fist pumping because this is all business.
Yeah.
So great sauna, great sauna. Having said that, no? But I
Pero
think
yun nga
he's
bro.
limited.
Sona is again that statesman formal. What my sense is, it is kind of like, yung mga sidekicks, yung mga blogging, yung mga ganun. Dun sa more fluid space. So I think his speech was great in Australian Parliament. I think he gave a good speech practically in every foreign visit he had, from World Economic Forum onwards. So, wala akong issue dyan. Ako, more is like the online wars eh. Kaya weirdly, yung mga
Yeah.
katulad namin na hindi naman pro-BBM na criticize sa kanya, dahil galit kami kay Digong for some reason, parang kami na lang we're doing the pushback eh. Na at least this guy is good on West Philippines eh. At least he's doing the right thing on foreign policy. So parang, I just felt nakapusan ako. But you're right, the EDSA structured seems. So he's very careful. But you're right. I rather have a BBM who's careful than a BBM which is not careful and like too much. Yeah.
You know, it's you have to look at kasi 'di ba apat yan, man, message, machinery, and money. The man himself is, you know, he's conflict averse.
Right.
The favorite term of our friend Secretary and soon to be Senator Ronald Llamas, 'di ba? Conflict averse daw yan si BBM,
Mr.
'di ba?
0.6%. Yeah.
A 0.6 guy. So ano siya, 'di ba? Conflict averse, he's really not that guy, but the thing is, that's why he needed Sara Duterte during his campaign. So ngayon nawala yung veneer, yung halo ng Duterte charm sa
Right.
Marcos, nasira yung unity team. So maybe that's what he's missing.
Yeah. And last one, I wanna say this kasi baka sabihin nila, itong dalawa naman, nag-a-apply na naman ng kliyente paparating ng elections. Let's talk about someone who's not running next year's elections but is being openly considered to maybe consider even the highest office, if not the second highest office. And this is a person that many people didn't see as having much chance in Philippine politics because we're more of a right-wing, center-right, conservative society. I'm talking about obviously Risa Hontiveros.
Right.
Some people would like, come on, there's no way that a kind of a progressive, leftist, social democratic person. But who knows? I mean, she's doing very well, right? I mean, all of these hearings are blockbuster after blockbuster after blockbuster, from Kiboloy to Alice Go and all. Is this the woman meeting the moment situation?
Absolutely. She's experiencing what we call an inflection jump. This is again the moment coming and the moment being seized. But having said that, 25, 28, baka sa 28, baka pwedeng vice. I'm
Pwedeng
not sure
vice, but
about.
that's still high. That's still big, yeah.
No, yeah. So I'm not necessarily sure if Senator Risa. And I love Senator Risa. I'm a huge fan, but I'm not sure kung kaya niyang i-sustain yung mga inflection jumps ito until 28 to gun for number
Right,
for
right.
01, maybe 02.
0-2. Just last point on this. If you are progressive or liberal, or maybe a combination of two, let's just call them left liberal, ano yung mga kailangan mong gawin to succeed in this difficult era? Because as we just mentioned, the Tulfos are the biggest winner of the fight between Marcoses and Dutertes. So it's not like they're totally different brand. It's we just like went from, I don't know, Hermes and Louis Vuitton to Chanel. I'm being nice, obviously. But how can, I don't know, an Italian brand come from nowhere? Let's just go like that.
You wanted
My
to say
friend,
more
how can I
seasoning.
come in? Yeah.
You wanted to say nor seasoning to Maggi Sabor. That's what you wanted to say.
Yeah, exactly. You said it better than me. I put myself in trouble. Yeah.
Alam mo, lahat ng popcorn sa SNR tsaka sa Landers naubos na, no? Because the Tulfos have bought all the popcorn. Because they're just sitting down and boy, are they enjoying this fight. It's a Mexican standoff. My enemies are shooting themselves in the face. When these two are dead, I'm gonna rise. But, okay, going back to your question, how does ano yung term mo? Left
Left
of
liberal,
center?
let's say something like Lenny or Risa or something along those lines, and how can they navigate and carve space for them? I mean, I can already think of Grace Poe, no, who's not necessarily populist, although she has the Poe effect. But I think she's much more liberal leaning in terms of her stance. So she's number one in some of the Pulse Asia survey, I'm saying. But let's say if not Grace, but someone else who wants to kind of more Lenny, Risa-ish, uh, but how did I mean? It's tough. The Tulfos are coming up. The two are still in the game. I mean,
Okay, the first step is wag parating kontra. Don't
Ah,
make your
right.
platform always kontra. Kasi that's the stereotype. That's a knock on them. Kahit anong gawin ng administrasyon, kontra, 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 kontra. So wag parating kontra. Applaud the wins sometimes.
Right.
And criticize what needs to be criticized, but applaud the wins also sometimes. And sadly, of course, I'm a PR guy. This is so painful for me to say. Sometimes ride on the wins. Sumakay ka rin minsan. 'Di ba? May konting epal eh. And I know that this is something that the left liberals, as you term them,
Yeah.
hate with a passion, that epal politics. But you gotta play the game, brother. That's the
Yeah.
music. That's the music of our electorate. You gotta play the game. You
So,
gotta dance the.
super last point ito. So, what is a ethical PR? If I can put it that way, like I like PR. It's something that I kind of do in my own little way. But and I think both of us, our heart is in the place of we want a better democracy, a better country. Aside from our own personal careers, and all, I think whatever happens, thank God, we'll do something about it. But the point is, how can we do ethical PR in this era? And I want to end where I started. Margaret Thatcher loved Evita. And apparently what she said after watching first Evita, she said to her, and lumabas yung letter na yan later on, dun sa kanyang communication secretary, the guy behind yung, I think, first version of The Office, yung English. But anyway, these are like communications gurus, right? And she said something like, my goodness, look at Evita. She was able to achieve all of these things, these Perons, these Argentinians, without any real ideology. Imagine what can you do if you have a real ideology and have their communication skills. Because obviously she was dismissive of Argentina, but she believed that she had this kind of that Thatcherite ideology of privatization and all of that. So, napaisip din ako doon. It's like, yeah, so you're right. You have to write them, but how do you do it? Although I'm the opposite side of Margaret Thatcher ideologically, but I think she had a point. How do you use the Evita charisma and populism and all of these things you're talking about, but channel it in the right direction?
Well, again, no. Ethically, what you should do is you should, within the bounds of your office and within the bounds of what is legally allowable, sadly,
Yeah.
kailangan kang mamigay eh. Kailangan ka talagang mamigay ng assistance, mamigay ng mga care packs. It has to be done, my friend, sadly. So, you know what it is? It's yung sinabi ni Margaret Thatcher, imagine if you had actual substance and
Yeah.
brought it to communication.
With the
So
style.
nag-full
If you
circle
bring
tayo sa
substance and style together, oh mama. Oo.
but this is what I'm going to now term. And by the way, I'm going to copyright this term first thing Monday. This is now what we are going to call the Haydarian thirst trap.
Mapapahamak talaga tayo dyan. But since it's Olympics period, I mean, ang dami mga thirst trap nangyari. Might as well.
Oh, yan. Di ba? You reel them in. You reel them in with the optics, and then you deliver the
Yeah.
knockout punch.
Yeah.
Di ba? You dazzle them with your charm, and then
Yeah.
you knock them out with the brilliance. So yun.
That's absolutely good point. So medyo umepal here and there, but the epal with the heart. Epal with the heart. Thank you so much, Alan. I was thinking about doing two things. I said, why not let's just focus on one issue and go deep, or we discuss many issues and hopefully in the future we'll come back. And eventually I said it on the second one. I felt, there's so much more here. Maybe the rest should be off the record. I'm sure there are things you'd rather discuss off the record. But again, I just want to remind for our audience here on Twitter, which is quite a diverse audience, our audience. Hindi ko naman na-on yung TikTok, nakalimutan ko na. Baka yung China, they might learn some tricks from us. Na libre. On YouTube and Facebook. Alan Herman, obviously the guru of PR, continuing the great legacy of his father. And good job for honoring the legacy of your dad. And thank you also for making sure na you're hindi ka lang yung our brand is crisis type of PR guy. You're doing it
Let's chase
for the good guys. Yeah, exactly. And definitely this was a pleasure. Really enjoyed our discussion, our conversation. And then, yeah, definitely looking forward to more discussions off the record, on the record, and more. Thank you so much, Alan. Is there something? How can people follow it? Follow your thoughts and makano bang rates mo? Yung mga ganun nagtatanong mga tao. Makano bang rates mo? Mayroon akong tsahin na inaaway ako doon sa girlfriend ko.
Brother, first of all, the pleasure and the privilege is mine, no? Meron tayong kasabihan. If you enter the room and you're the smartest guy in the room, you've entered the wrong room. So that's why when I'm in the room with Richard Darian, I'm always in the right room. So really, really a wonderful chat. Always a pleasure to chew the fat with you, my brother. The name of my company is Agents International. Here's the weird thing about us. And by way of having a last point, we actually do not advertise. We don't have a website. We have no social media presence because we believe in client at center stage. Medyo Italiano kami, Italiano. If you've reached us, if you found us, if you've come to our door, that means somebody who knew someone
Yeah.
led you to us. So all the roads will lead to
Alan,
you.
how do you do that? I mean, this was more like Rolex or something like oh, we don't do advertisement because the people who watch TV are not our clientele. Yung mga ang grabing snob. Although nakita ko sila sa Formula 1. Speaking of Grand Prix. Uy, okay yung
Yun
flex
nga.
mo ah.
Hindi kami alamat. Hindi kami talaga nag-advertise. Wala kaming website. A lot of people wonder kasi number one, we believe in client at center
Yeah,
stage.
exactly.
You know that if people are aware that there's a PR agency behind it, then that's not good PR. Because you gotta be sneaky, man. You gotta smuggle it.
That's it. Thirst trap for the win. Maraming salamat, Alan. Mabuhay ka and looking forward to catching up in person and maybe also off the record as well as on the record.
Richard, it was a pleasure. I'll see you soon. And thank you to all of our listeners. Mabuhay ang Pilipinas. Mabuhay ang atletang Pilipinas. Mabuhay po tayong lahat.
Thank you, amigo. Grazie mille.
Thank you, brother. Ingat ka.
Ingat. God bless. That was great. That was great. Okay, I'm just making sure guys there's enough space para makuha natin yan. Thank you so much again sa lahat ng mga nakinig sa atin. Sorry if I started a bit later than usual. I was working on my column about the whole response to Carlos Yula. Inaayos ko rin yung response ko. Baka mamaya mabash tayo ng big time. I really enjoyed that conversation. Mabuhay ka, Alan. I really, really appreciated that. And I think a lot of us also appreciate that. Yeah, that's free PR 101, right? So I hope people appreciate it. And as I said, I do things differently. I'm not here to interview. I'm here to have a conversation. And I hope you enjoyed the Evita. We started with Evita Peron and we ended up with Margaret Thatcher, Evita Peron, with Sara Duterte and all in between. But again, so I think the lesson is pretty clear. The lesson is that the field is open. Nothing is predetermined. Yes, it's good times to be a populist and all, but populists also are not invincible, especially Duterte's, especially Sara Duterte version. But also do not count them out, and that's why you have to up your game. And that's why the opposition and whoever wants to join the politics of the Philippines in the good way has to also up their game. So maraming salamat again. Maraming salamat sa lahat ng mga nakikinig sa atin, lahat ng sumuporta sa atin. This week was a great week in terms of our engagements and all of that. We have multiple videos on our YouTube channels with at least 50,000 views. Some of our videos have done more than 100,000 views. So nakabawi tayo because to be honest, last month nung nasa Europe ako mostly, sobrang baksak lahat, di ba? Halos walang new subscribers, halos walang masyadong views. Views were down by 50%. So I'm glad na nakabawi tayo. And also on Facebook, for some reason, bumabalik ulit yung Facebook views natin and all. I don't know what happened dun sa Facebook natin kasi you remember, di ba, nung elections na nag-start tayo, we would do 1 million view per day at least. Right? I mean, it was crazy. It was crazy. And then totally nawala. But I think now things are coming back a little bit. So medyo may momentum na tayo. So we want to continue this. Yes, next week, God willing, inshallah, on Thursday, we're hoping to have in-person in studio. I'm asking a couple of people, but it looks like hindi available yung iba. I'll ask, baka pwede pa si Alan, but nahihiya ako na tanongin na naman siya baka. But we hope to do one this Thursday in person in studio with Ronald. It's RRM essentially. The RRMs we want to do all of them in studio, and then every Thursday, God willing. and we're still negotiating the prices and all of the medyo mahal palang editing, so we'll try to figure out how to edit it ourselves. And I'll try to do also live at the same time, John. What else? Yeah, thank you so much for your support. Obviously, tuloy-tuloy yung hopefully supportan niyo dun sa mga ibang shows natin. One News, I have a new show, The Floor. Kanina interview natin, shout out to Undersecretary D of the Department of Information Communication Technology. Pinag-usapan natin ng deep fake, cheap fake, Chinese disinformation, Duterte to a certain degree. So abangan nyo yan. And ako, what I do is I cross purpose my audiences on different platforms para yung mga iba na hindi nanood doon sa ibang interview natin makanood dito. Um, We're also hoping to have back on our show sila Gio, sila Paeng, and some of the progressive leaders. And let's see, hopefully we'll also have, we're, if Senator Risa Hontiveros is fine, then so be it. I'm also working on having Sherwin Gatchalian again on platforms. I already had him on my TV show, but I want to have him also here. And also other senators and people of responsibility and obligation in this country. We're doing a good job, good job. So on that note, maraming salamat. Thank you so much for your good wishes and prayers. Yes, so I'll be joining you, God willing, next week from out of town again. Agawid actually Baguio. Yan, uwi tayo sa Baguio. It's a birthday of my grandma, and I'm just so grateful to the Lord. Every year for the opportunity to spend time with my grandma. She's not as young as before. Mid 80s lang naman. But she has fought hard, and she prays to the Lord, and she gets strength and inspiration from us, and I get strength of inspiration from her. Yung dad ko is super mabait na malumanay. May parang Lenny yung dad ko, sobrang mabait, malumanay. It's from my lola that you see all of these bardagul and good side in me, the side that keeps things interesting, right? So my heart is very close to my lola, and yeah, paras kami bully, paras kami all of that, but I love her, and thank you so much for your support and prayers. Please continue to pray for Lola so that she keeps strong and healthy, and continue to shine as a source of inspiration and strength for her family and loved ones. Salamat sa inyo. Please stay strong, stay healthy, and let's enjoy. There's one more day of Olympics. Let's clap para naman masayang ending ng Olympics. I think there's one more marathon tomorrow and a couple of fights. I'm still watching them. Medyo may bugs na naman tayo lalo kasi I'm trying to catch up on wrestling, taekwondo, some of the sports I'm also very interested in. God willing, if I find an opportunity, I want to get back to MMA and sports and all of that. As some of you know, I did taekwondo from a very young age all the way to black belt and all of that. Dun sa Rizal Gym din kami kumuha ng black belt namin. But I want to do more of that sports and all of that. So we're trying to find those things. In the meantime, I'm trying to get as many people as possible on our platforms. And I really, really appreciate your support, guys. So malapit na tayo mag 100,000 followers on YouTube. Please continue to support us para makamit natin yung target na yan as soon as possible, God willing, para medyo legit na tayo on YouTube. Congratulations also to my friend Christian, doing very, very well on YouTube. He went from just the tens of thousands the other year. Now he's at 300,000. That's good. That's great. The more people with the good heart and the good mind and the good guests doing well on YouTube, the better. Dapat talaga ganyan tayo. So please also continue to support us para medyo malakas din tayo. I mean, we're quite strong on different platforms. On Twitter, on Facebook, 300, 400,000 followers. We're good. But on YouTube, labanan talaga ngayon YouTube eh. Yeah, and to a certain degree TikTok, but mamaya na yung TikTok. So YouTube talagang labanan. So please, yung mga followers natin, support us there. Also on Spotify and on Apple Podcast. Please continue to support us. Libre lang mag-rating. If you think we deserve 5 stars for all our efforts and all of that, then please, it's free to give 5 stars. And the more ratings, the better. We are at around 640 ratings right now on Spotify per my last checking. So hopefully we can maintain that kind of momentum in the coming months. And coming years. So hopefully 1,000 ratings tayo para malakas na tayo sa algorithm. Again, unfortunately, the way that this world works is the YouTubes and the Facebook promote you more, the more you get traction. So it's really a pyramid scheme. It's a kind of winner takes all Pareto distribution kind of situation. So we need to get the good message out, because the alternative to us, guys, you know what is the alternative to us? It's bulljack, it's alam niyo yung mga ganun, mga essentially trash, right? Essentially trash, fake news, pro-China stuff, whatever nonsense, right? So let's strengthen the good voice. Whether it's Christian Esquera, whether it's Kristan, whether it's Mark Gambo, whether it's 26%, whether it's yours truly, let's do that. Palakasin natin yung side natin para sa darating mga elections, hindi lang may laban tayo, we have the communicative high ground. On that note, thank you very much. God bless. God bless the Philippines. God bless Kaloy. God bless Tesho. God bless Villegas. God bless all of our Olympic athletes, medal winners or not. And hopefully there'll also be more money and more resources going to these platforms. Sorry, platforms. Sorry, medyo late na. To these endeavors and sports, no. Again, yung mga pro basketball dyan, sorry if may mga sinabi ako na hurt kayo and all of that. I'm just saying, ang laki ng investment natin sa basketball. I'm not saying let's take that away. I'm just saying sana naman medyo lakihan natin ng konti naman sa gymnastics, sa boxing, sa mga sports na makakuha naman talaga tayo ng gold dyan eh. Ang laki ng chance natin. Alright? Anong Chris Chappelle? I'm like, what is this? Tristan Tate, Chris Chappelle. Hindi ko kamukha lahat ng mga yan, okay? I'm Richard A. Darian. On that note, thank you very much. Talk to you soon. God bless and have a blessed Sabbath day tomorrow. Salamat po. Thank you very much. God bless. And thank you sa mga nag-send ng stars, stickers, and support. Really appreciate that. Salamat.